Many people believe that Nicole Kessinger never lied about anything. Ironically, believe it or not, they do. Well, guess what? I'm not one of those people. Many things she lied about, many inconsistencies, and so let's just get right into them. We're actually just going to step back and go all the way back until November the 15th of 2018. Now, the reason this is where we're going to start is because that is actually when Nicole Kessinger very first came out of hiding in this whole situation. She actually came out to the Denver Post. There's actually really no way that the Denver Post did contact her first, because up until this point, no one knew what her name was. No one knew who she was. Now, granted, there was plenty of speculation running around the Anadarko fields, because online, on social media, there was an actual screenshot that was supposedly from some of the Anadarko employees talking amongst themselves in a group chat about Nicole and Chris. I'm not certain if this is a fabricated or an authentic screenshot. The time I stepped into this case, this screenshot was already well known out in the social media web sleuth true crime world. Nicole Kessinger herself contacted them because she wanted to come out and give her side of the story. Now, it's awfully ironic that she waited until 4 days before sentencing to come out with her side of the story. She always says she just wants to help. I beg to differ in that. We'll put the link to this interview in the description box below. As of the time of this recording, it is still up and available for all to see. Now, while I'm reading over this article, you will see me look down a few times, several times. That is when I'm actually reading the article from my computer screen. Okay, now keep in mind, most of the time I'm probably not going to be reading because of the fact that almost everything she says, I almost have a rebuttal to, like almost everything she says. But you may not feel that way. And if you don't, that is completely fine. There's also many creators that have done the NK kind of thing, like a little series. Unmask is one. She'd actually have a series here on this channel as well, exposing the mistress. But I thought it was time to revamp it for the simple fact that I did get that question recently. What did she lie about? Well, that's what I'm hoping to be able to show you here. Okay, well, let's get right into this Denver Post interview that she asked for herself. Keep this in mind. She did not go to them. She called them to meet her at her attorney's office. And it starts out by saying, "It is horrific. Christopher Watts' girlfriend speaks out for the first time as sentencing in Frederick murders draws near." I also find it worth mentioning that this article was actually published on November the 15th, 2018 at 7:16. However, it was updated November the 15th, 2018 at 9:36 p.m. So just a couple of hours after it was actually released, they had to update this article. Now, that make you wonder why possibly this article needed updated within 2 hours of it being released. Being that it's not mentioned why it was updated, we can have an assumption and thought here, and mine would be this. Nicole seen something in it that she didn't like and wanted it different. Okay. When Nicole Kessinger started dating Christopher Watts in July, gotta stop there, because we know it was at least in June. June the 11th is when Shanann did her pregnancy reveal. And Chris said that that's why he didn't act so excited, because he was already talking to Nicole. Now, whether they want to say it was dating or not, they were already talking. The emails also prove in June that Nicole was wishing she had such a wonderful life. She wanted to build this beautiful life like he had with his wife and children and his beautiful home. So, yeah. But here, she said when they started dating in July. He goes on to say that he appeared to be a soft-spoken man and a thoughtful father who was at the end of divorce proceedings. Now, see, there again, I can't actually say for certain if she really believed that. However, Shanann's Facebook was extremely public, as well as Chris's, until he chose to delete it. But her Facebook never had one mention of anything of the sort. Actually, it was everything of the opposite. So, personally, I do not choose to believe that she thought they were at the end of divorce proceedings, as she claims here in her first time of ever coming out to the public about who she really is. It wasn't until the Frederick man's wife and 2 daughters went missing in August that Nicole learned that Chris had never started divorce proceedings with his wife, who was 15 weeks pregnant, and that he had been lying to her for the entire relationship, which lasted less than 2 months. What did Chris lie to her about? Now, I'm not defending Chris here by no means, but we're all well aware that she knew almost everything about Chris's lifestyle. She even knew things in his house, even knew about the EpiPens, even knew about his weight. I could go on and on. She knew everything about him. I think she knew more about him than he knew about himself. To say that Kessinger was shocked by Watts's arrest, but she has never doubted that he killed his wife Shanann and their 2 daughters, Bella 4 and Celeste 3. Okay, now she says she has never doubted. Okay, so why would she be shocked if she did not doubt that he's the one that killed them all? If I know someone and I know that they are capable of doing that, or they're going to do that, then I too would say, I never doubted they would do it, but I damn sure wouldn't say I was shocked when they got busted. Where's the shock factor here? If you always assumed and you never doubted it, then why the shock factor that he was arrested for it? I don't think there is a logical explanation for what he did. It's a senseless act, and it's horrific. Well, she finally said something true. It's a senseless act, and it's horrific. I think there's a logical explanation for what he did. Well, who does? Kessinger approached investigators before Chris's arrest and participated in multiple police interviews describing details of their relationship and what he had told her about his missing family. Yes, she did approach them. She called them on the 15th, hours before Chris confessed in his polygraph. She didn't call him the 13th. She didn't call him the 14th. No, she called him right before he confessed. Ironically enough, it was also after the fact that there were warrants, search warrants, interrogation warrants, vehicle search warrants, all for her, that had been made and signed and ready to be served on her on the 15th. And also, on the 15th, that morning, Anna Darko sent over the questionable emails between her and Chris. So after all of that came to be, then she contacted them. Now, I'm not saying that she had a clue that the warrants were ready, or that Anadarko had sent the emails over, or that Chris was going to confess, or he was going to be weak in the interrogation and easily broken to confess. I'm not saying any of that. Are you? What do you think about that? Why didn't she call the 13th? Why didn't she call the 14th? Now that Watts has pleaded guilty to the murders, Kessinger said in an exclusive interview with the Denver Post that she wanted to share her side of the story. Many people have speculated about their relationship after an arrest affidavit revealed that Chris was having an affair with an unnamed woman. So as I was saying, just as this says, this is an exclusive interview. This is the very first interview that Nicole ever gave to the public. This is the very first time they even knew her name, as well as seen her face. Side of the story that she gives to Denver Post here, keep in mind, 4 days before the sentencing, is my opinion, and this is my opinion and not fact, because I don't know, no one knows. However, I can comfortably speculate that the reason she chose to go ahead and come out on this Thursday when the sentencing was the following Monday, I can only speculate the reason of that being is because she thought or was told, maybe by her attorney, maybe by her dad or a friend, I don't even know, but they were told he can back out of this plea deal at any time. He can back out of the plea deal in the middle of the courtroom. There's always the likely that you can come out. Your name, your face, and everything about you too. Everything that was in the discovery, your phone records, everything. Well, I believe she went ahead and decided to come out now at this point to kind of save face. Like if her name would have possibly been mentioned in the sentencing, and then they would have started going to her, media, reporters, you know, the whole 9 yards. Well, her story was already out there. So she's already answered all of the questions that she plans to answer. It was already answered before he had his sentencing, November the 15th. Now that is my speculation of why she waited until this time to come out with her side of the story. Also about her side of the story is this. This is before we had discovery. This is before we had access to phone records, phone pings, text messages, any of the sort. So right here, when she'd done this interview, she felt kind of pretty comfortable being able to say whatever it was she wanted to say. Because nothing could be proved against her that she was lying at this time. Nothing. Because we had access to nothing. And she felt very confident that Chris was never going to throw her under the bus. And even if he did, who would believe him, right? So, you know, Chris actually said that the things she said in this interview here was good and actually helped him somehow. Let's continue. Watts, 33, is scheduled to appear in court Monday for a sentencing hearing after pleading guilty last week to murdering his wife and 2 children in August and concealing their bodies on a rural Weld County oil site. If the judge accepts the plea deal, Watts will be sentenced to life in prison for the crimes that drew national attention to the small town north of Denver. Kassinger, a 30-year-old Colorado native, said the brief affair has turned her life upside down as people have named her on social media and discussed the relationship in online forums. So yeah, I mean, they were talking on many forums about who was the mistress. Who was she? Now, the only thing that I have ever been aware of that her name was actually called out, like she says here, is the group chat with the Anadarko employees that I told you earlier. I'm not sure if it's legit or not, but she said that they have called her out and her life has been turned upside down, even though no one knew who she was publicly in the media or what she looked like until this was released. That's why Denver Post could call it an exclusive interview, because that's what it was. This is the first and last to date interview or anything that Nicole has ever came out to media with, the first and last. So how her life had been turned upside down, I have no clue. I wish she would have elaborated. We had just met. I barely knew him. Barely knew him. I have way, way too much to say into that. Like, we would be here all day on those 4 words. I barely knew him. Most of you already know this case, and I don't even think I have to go into the whole reasons why that is complete and utter shit, right? Right? I don't even have to go into it. Like I said before, she knew him more than he knew himself. She knew him more than his own wife knew the real him. I truly believe this. On to say, Kessinger was working in the environmental department with an Anadarko petroleum contractor when the two met. She said during a Thursday morning interview in the office of her lawyer, Ed Hopkins. So as you see, Denver Post came to her at her attorney's office. She didn't go to them. Every morning, Chris and the other operators would gather in the office break room while they waited to be dispatched to a field site. Kessinger would walk through the group to place her lunch in the fridge, but she never spoke to Chris. Well, Anthony Brown actually debunked that one. He said months ago, like back in March or April, that he saw himself, Nicole, and Chris very closely talking. So one day in the middle of June, he walked into her office to introduce himself. They continued casual conversations, and she noticed that Chris was not wearing a wedding ring, and Kessinger, who was single, thought he was attractive. Just he wasn't wearing a wedding ring. There's many men that cannot wear their wedding ring on the work. I've even worked places, and you may have too, to where they ask you not to wear jewelry because your ring can get caught in machinery, or it also harbors germs. There's just different reasons why. Now, Chris's was that he had lost so much weight. Even if she thought he was attractive or not, just because he didn't have on a wedding ring doesn't always answer the question, are they married? Means that she worked there. Everybody knew he was married. Like, everybody there knew he was married. Everybody had congratulated him by the middle of June on their new pregnancy. Not to mention, she had searched for Chris and Shanann the early part of 2018, as well as all the way back to mid-part 2017. September 2017 to be exact. So him not having on a wedding ring is a lame excuse, in my opinion. Nicole said, when he spoke to me, he was very soft-spoken and he appeared to be a good listener. Okay. Soft-spoken, nice guy, polite. But where does he appear to be a good listener come in? What was you telling him? I mean, how would you know someone's a good listener unless you have had some pretty deep convos with this person? How do you know he's a good listener? What were you telling him that he was listening to that impressed you so much? Just curious. Chris told her that he had 2 daughters. And after Kessinger asked, Chris said he was separated and at the end of divorce proceedings. Now, this is after she asked, she says. After she asked him, was he married? He's like, oh yeah, but we're separated. And we're at the end of divorce proceedings. He goes on to say, however, I believed him. You believed him. You're really good at searching Facebook. You're really good at Google searches. So why would you just believe him? You're going to search him again multiple times and his wife before this happened. But on November the 15th, they're saying, I believed him. First met outside of work in late June, Kessinger asked Chris more questions about his divorce. And he told her the mutual divorce was almost final. And they were working out financial details, she said. I'm pretty sure that she asked him these sort of questions before they started dating in mid-June at the park, the first time they began a physical relationship in early July. She told him she wanted to take it slow, and he should focus on helping his daughters adjust to the divorce. Now, another thing, helping his daughters adjust to the divorce? Really? He was only around his daughters for like the last week since y'all's affair. And a week of it, he was in North Carolina. He hadn't seen them in 5 weeks. You knew this because you were with him every night. So the week he was in North Carolina with his daughters, you took it upon yourself to flood him with nude photos and voicemails and even times when you said, oh, I guess you're with her, when he didn't immediately answer your call or text right back. You continued on him to go to his family. Family's so important. You need to go see your family. Although you were well aware that his kids weren't allowed over there because there was a falling out. You knew all that. Then when he got back to Colorado, the first thing he does is go and see you. Go and see you. And then as soon as Shanann leaves town again for Arizona, what happens? Y'all are on dates. You're trying to get him to go look at apartments. You are trying to make him super cozy with fantasy, sexual things that you have Google searched. But yet, here on your side of the story, you told him you wanted to take it slow and he should focus on helping his daughters adjust to the divorce. Now, how's he supposed to do that when you are straight up his ass? You don't want to be second fiddle to his wife or kids. So how could he focus on anything except you? when you did not give him any other option but you. You got pissy with him if he spent time with them. So Nicole, your side of the story, whether you realized it or not when you told it, is not holding water now for anyone, or definitely not for me. And I can assure you there's many others just like me out there. You yourself not even see the inconsistencies now. I'm sure you're very much embarrassed by the things you said here after the fact of everything you've seen. That was in the discovery that you knew we could kind of match this up with. Sometimes you got to think before you speak. No matter if you are trying to build yourself up, better make sure there's no skeletons that can fall out of that closet and crumble your words. Because that's just what happened, in my opinion, with this first time coming out, telling my side of the story. That's my opinion. It goes on to say, when Watts went to visit family in North Carolina at the end of July, he called to tell her that his divorce was final. Okay, so how can his divorce be final when it hasn't even been filed yet? And you knew it hadn't been filed yet. You did know that. You even got mad when you went in his home for whatever reasons. Later that month. Okay, on a side note here, I want to bring this out. In the middle of my editing, I just decided that I wanted to put this in here. As most of you know that has followed this case, you're very well aware that on July the 14th, Chris says that he had to talk Nicole off of a ledge, that they had gotten into an argument, and Nicole even said that they had gotten into a little spat, whatever. She's out in her truck. She runs out to her truck, and she's sitting there texting him, and he's still in the house, and Chris feels good about himself that he could talk her off of this ledge and get her to come back in. Now, all this happened on July the 14th, ironically, right? Well, now this is what I'm getting at. Nicole's story, and I think it was said that she even told Chris this, that when she was upstairs, because Dieter, said, come on up here, let's go see what's up here, whatever, and she followed him upstairs and seen a picture of him and his wife, and they looked so happy, or, whatever it was. It was something about a picture she seen upstairs. Now, I think there could be a little bit of truth in her story right there. Now, granted, I do not think it was a picture of Chris and Shanann. No, I do not. I think this is the photo she seen. And no, she didn't see it on the wall, and she didn't see it any way like she claimed she seen it. But I think it was this picture. My opinion only, obviously, but look at the date on this picture. Now, Shanann went shopping, got the first outfit for the new baby. Now, she would have sent this photo to Chris. She would, right? And even if she didn't, there you go. It's obvious she posted it. Now, if you look at the picture, you can see that she's in the car, and there's her purse down there, and you can see there's even a water bottle. So, you can even see her leg, okay, in this photo. She's holding the little photo up. So I believe, personally, she's taking this picture for Chris. Now, we cannot be 100% of that, but I feel 99.99% because she would have sent this to Chris. Look at it, North Carolina. Daddy wears the same kinds of shirts. So I believe she would have sent this to Chris. And I believe, remember, Nicole was just, ironically, working on his phone and helping him with some damn app, fitness app. Remember that? Okay, I believe this photo came through while she was doing that, and she had his phone a lot, I truly believe, because why else was he deleting every text that Shanann sent him? Like, they're all deleted. All Shanann's text is deleted. Not necessarily all the ones Nicole sent him, but the ones Shanann sent him are deleted. Why? Because I think Nicole had his phone quite regularly, seeing his text and this and that and the other. Yeah, I absolutely do. And I believe she's seen this photo, not one that she claims she's seen, this one. And I think this photo is what set her off. Absolutely do. Look at the date. Do the math. What do you think? Drop them in the comments below. Do you think that's a possibility of the quote-unquote photo she's seen? Maybe she was upstairs, Maybe she was in Shanann's room. Who knows? But I think this is the photo. Period. He asked Nicole to help him find an apartment that would be good for him and his daughters. He spoke about long-term plans for their relationship. Now, she and him both sat there and said they talked about living a simple life, how they didn't need these extravagant houses and things of that nature. She also let it be known that she just really wasn't ready to, meet his children. She just really wasn't ready for anything like that. She didn't even know if she wanted to have kids. Now, eventually she did go on in to say, I want to have your first son. She had this thing about first. Like she wanted to do first with Chris, and anything that he had already did that was not first, she didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. Now, if you will think about it, the things that Chris and Nicole done together, were they first for Chris? Were they? First for Chris with another woman. She was very adamant about wanting to be first. Well, she couldn't be the first one to make him a father, but she could be the first one to give him a son, or that is what she thought. What about camping? He said he had never been camping. That was a first. What about building a fire? She said he didn't even know how to build a fire. That was a first. What about the Shelby Car Museum? Sure, Chris had been to car museums many times, obviously, and car shows. But here's the thing. The Shelby Car Museum, the car museum that is actually named after the one that designed his beloved Shelby Mustang, I believe it's safe to say that was a first. What about the races? I don't know that Shanann ever went to any races with him, although she did know that he really enjoyed them. I don't remember ever hearing where him and her went to the races. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't remember that. I know there was Metallica concerts and different things like that, but I don't remember hearing it that they went to races, even though it is possible. But if they didn't, that's a first. The reason I don't think they ever went to races together is because Chris actually made the comment that he loves that, but he hasn't been to one since 2010. So that's when he met Shanann. So I don't believe they did. So there again, there's another first. All the odd things that she was Google searching as far as being intimate, pretty sure those would be first for him as well. And dunes, Shanann never did that. So she had this kind of obsession with first. So much to the point that she even made the comment, I'm not playing second fiddle. In my opinion, all of that says a lot to me. It's competition. And we all know that Nicole likes a damn good competition. She entered into these things. She entered into challenges, these competitions. So Was it all just a game to her? Was it all just to see if I can do this? Can I win? Went on to say that he made me believe that he was doing all of the things that a rational man and good father would do. Okay, I wonder what she meant by rational man and good father. How would she put him in a category of a rational man and good father if he's married and having an affair with the mistress? Now, if she was the one married to him and he was doing the same thing to her, I wonder if she would still say, well, he's a very rational man and a good father. No, I think he loses credibility for both of those, having an affair on his wife and putting even his children second to her. On Monday, August the 13th, that the two did chat like normal throughout the workday. At 3:45 p.m., Chris texted that his family was quote unquote gone. He told Kessinger that Shanann had taken the girls to a play date and had not returned. He seemed casual, but didn't show any emotion, she said. Chris got to his house at 2. The whole time he was there, we seen it. He was on the phone and texting the hell out of someone. We know he was texting her at one point because he replied with going, oh my God, that is ridiculous. They would freak out, or something very damn close to that effect, while he was looking at Nate's cam footage. Messenger said she was worried about his missing family, but she didn't want to make a big deal out of a situation that Watts seemed very calm about. Then, news reporters showed up at the Watts family home. She was really worried. Worried enough to tell him to go pawn her ring, go pawn Shanann's wedding ring. She said, I pawn stuff all the time. But yet, in the same breath, she's always bragging to him about how smart she is and how well her finances are. And she's not in debt and she owes nobody. But yet she's telling him, go pawn it. I pawn stuff all the time. I pawn jewelry all the time. You don't even look like the type of person that buys jewelry all the time. So whose jewelry are you pawning all the time? She says, I was very confused while the media was at his house. Well, it's missing children and a pregnant woman. That's a big deal. Media generally does go and do interviews and things of that nature. Goes on to say, I thought, if he was able to lie to me and hide something that big, what else was he lying about? She said. What? Hide something? What do you mean? He was able to lie to you and hide something that big? Are you referring to the pregnancy? There's no way you didn't know about that. None. Zero. It was all over Shanann's Facebook. Photos of her baby bump, photos of the pregnancy reveal, photos of new outfits that she had bought Nico, post about the girls being so excited. There's no possible way, and you will never convince me in a zillion years that Nicole did not know Shanann was pregnant. So if that is what she's talking about, that is a lie. There's no way she couldn't have seen that. We have proof that she did stalk Shanann's Facebook page, even while they were all in North Carolina, not to mention the day of August the 13th, that night, and consistently until the end of her phone records that we could see. Just because she said she didn't know it Okay. Who believes that? Really? Even Chris didn't believe it. Okay. So what was the big lie that he told you? You want to know what? There wasn't one, or I can't find one. The only thing that could be remotely, possibly a lie would be the fact that he told you he was in the middle of a divorce or in going through a divorce or something to that effect. It is literally the only thing I can find that you could have possibly been lied to about. However, you're damn good at searching. You're damn good at reading. So you already had the information. You already knew he was lying if he did tell you that. So why make a big deal out of it now? Why didn't you confront him with it then when you actually seen it? When you were stalking the Facebook pages, why didn't you confront him then about those lies instead of wait until he is incarcerated to come out in the public eye with it? Makes no sense, period. Later that night, Kessinger learned the full situation. Shanann's wallet and purse were still in the house. Watts had left work early to let the police into his home. People had been trying unsuccessfully to contact Shanann all day. So she said it was later that night when she learned all of that. There again, I do not believe that. I just don't. I don't have any proof of that. But looking at the cam footage, just seeing the way Chris was constantly texting on the phone records even show that he called her pretty much almost as soon as they all left the house that day, that Monday. He immediately called her. And then that night, had company in and out all night. Jeremy to say, when I read the news, I found out he was still married and his wife was 15 weeks pregnant. Well, you may have found out how far along she was. I'm still not really buying that because of the pregnancy photos she posted on there about being 15 weeks and showing the little, I think it was an orange. You could buy the fact that you didn't know exactly how far along she was, but I still think you did because you did your homework. I mean, even checking expiration dates on condoms, you do your homework, girl. Period. But I may can take into consideration that you didn't know she was 15 weeks, but don't tell me you didn't know she was pregnant because I won't ever buy that, ever. Shocked at his lies and scared for the missing woman and children, she said. There again, she was shocked at his lies. What lies? I really wish I knew. As I've said, the only thing I can even assume would be the lie would be he told you he was getting divorced. Now, there's no way he could have lied to you about Shanann being pregnant, not through the whole relationship like you claimed. Because in order for him to lie about that, then you would have had to ask, is she pregnant? And he would have had to say no. A flurry of long calls and texts that night. Chris changed his story about his split with his wife. Roger bombarded Chris with questions. Well, she's done that quite often, not just that night. She even says it herself in her interviews. Were there signs someone had forced himself into the home? Were the daughter's car seats still there? Was one of the girls' EpiPens in the house? Okay, I don't think she just came out. So was the car seats in the car? I mean, but she's saying here that she did. She asked him these questions. Didn't show any emotion during their conversation and tried to change the subject away from his missing family, she said. I don't know how he could have done that. Now, I'm not saying he didn't, but that night he had company in and out, like I say, Jeremy Lindstrom, the Thayers, Dave Cologne, the Kelly Burke girls. She came over there, Shanann's friend, not to mention the phone calls from Officer Goodman, just wanting updates that Nicole was on the other phone while he was talking to Officer Goodman. It just seemed off, Kessinger said. And then while at work on August the 14th, she texts Chris, pushing him to tell what he knew about their disappearance and asking what he had done. He told her he would never hurt his family. That's a very awkward conversation there. I mean, just out of the blue, she would say, "What have you done to them?" And he's like, "I would never hurt them." I mean, that would be very awkward. I would love to have been a fly on the wall if that actually happened. But, for them to have been getting along so well the night before and, him not seeming concerned and things like she claims. And then just out of the blue, she asked him, "What have you done?" Got to the point that he was telling me so many lies that I eventually told him that I did not want to speak to him again until his family was found. What lies? Like, please, what lies? Like, everything you knew was bad enough, right? Except he was being separated. And as far as her being pregnant, I don't even know how that could have been a lie, because only way that could have been a lie is if you ask him, was she pregnant in the relationship? And you're damn sure not saying that you asked him that. And that you told him you did not want to speak to him again until after his family was found. Well, I find that ironic as well, because you didn't tell him that on the 13th. You didn't tell him that on the 14th. And if it was the 14th, it was the last time you talked to him. And you knew that he was going the next morning to have a polygraph. So I guess you just assumed that he was going to fail the polygraph. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you were thinking. To say, Kessinger checked the news in hopes that Shanann and the girls would be found. This morning, she called the Weld County Sheriff's Office to tell them about her relationship with Chris and his lies. And she met with FBI investigators that day. Okay. Yeah, she did call them that morning. Now, keep in mind that Anadarko sent over her and Chris's emails at 8 a.m. that morning. Not to even mention that also on the 15th, shortly after the Anadarko emails came about, they also had the warrants ready for her vehicle, her apartment, to interrogate her, and all that kind of good stuff. The very warrants that were never served because she came forward that morning as well. Now, it also says here that she met with FBI investigators that day. Okay, what do you consider 5:30 p.m.? It is still the same day, I'll give it that. But I think it could have been worded better. But I think she should have actually said, yeah, and I met with investigators later that evening at a park that I set up to meet me at, and my dad brought me, and they met me and my dad and my dog there. I think she should have told it all, and not just, yeah, I called him that morning and I met him that day. You left out a lot there. A lot that's pretty important in my opinion. It was later that evening. Actually, by the time you left the park, it was probably even getting dark, if it wasn't already dark. So, just saying. Timelines are important. Very important in things like these. And I think this timeline wasn't looked at, especially Nicole's, as well as it should have been. But I just wanted to help. With a pregnant woman and 2 missing children, I was going to do anything I could. Just wanted to help. Is that why when they ask you about your phone, you was like, oh, I need this phone. I really need this phone. It's the only one I've got. Is there any other way you can get it? Is there anything else you can do? I give it 10 days later. I'll give you this. 10 days later, you finally did bring that phone to Kovac and give it to them to use. But you brought it to them deleted, completely wiped out, and a busted up SIM card too. Imagine that. The SIM card was broken. Just your luck, huh? Isn't that awful? Really appreciate all that help, Nicole. I know you just wanted to help. Appreciate it. We couldn't have did it without you. FBI could have never got nowhere without you. I guess it was surprising that so many of your deleted texts actually did come back up. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot, but there was enough that it was like, girl, you've been lying. Just saying. Your suspicions proved true. So you're saying all along you suspected that he actually is the one that did this, right? Why did you wait that long to call and say anything if you had those suspicions all along? Amber Fry didn't. And you also Googled her. You was trying to kind of compare yourself to her. That's the way I seen it. Googling things like Amber Fry's book deal, Amber Fry's net worth, do people hate Amber Fry? So obviously you are in a sense comparing yourself to Amber Fry, right? That's what Amber Fry did. She did anything she could to help. Anything. She called immediately and even wore a wire and called Scott on the phone. Like, yeah, she did. She did everything she could to help the investigation. She even apologized to the victims' families. She even apologized publicly. Never seen you do that. And she didn't even do it. She truly didn't know he was married, for sure. But she publicly apologized to them. She wore the wire and called him. She even testified against him in court. And she went to them immediately when she found it out. So how could you compare yourself to her? I see polar opposites there. Polar opposites. That's just me. Oh, you know what else she did? She also took a polygraph test. Imagine that. Really think you should run around comparing yourself to her? There's no comparison. None. And I just felt so sad. When? You really didn't sound sad in your interviews. You did sound like that you were worried to death about yourself and your job and your reputation and your name change and getting witness protection and getting this, help through the advocate. And oh my God, all these things about you. Yeah, I get that. And maybe that's what you meant there when you said, I just felt so sad because, yeah, I mean, maybe that's true if you were talking about yourself. As far as Shanann and the kids, I didn't see you feeling sad. I didn't feel that. Oh, yeah, you cried, right? You did. You cried. But it's almost like turning the water faucet on and off, You can turn the water on full stream ahead, but just one little twist of the wrist and it's completely off. Not even a crack in the voice. And that's what you tended to do when you shed those tears. Oh, why? And another thing, you really focused on the girls. They're so little. They're so little. How could you do something like that that's this to somebody that's this big? Why were you so focused on their size? I mean, yeah, they were little. They were 5 and 3. They weren't like abnormally little for their age. They were about normal, average for their age. But you continued to focus on their size. They're little. They're so little. How could you do something like that? Somebody that's this big. But yet you say you never met them. So how in the hell would you know anything about their size? And why are you so focused on their size? And since his arrest, she has never doubted that he killed them. The story that Watts told police that he killed Shanann after he saw her strangling one of the girls is a lie, Kessinger said. On November the 15th, 2018, that is Nicole Kessinger's words. The story he told police about Shanann killing the kids and then him killing her is a lie. She does not say, I think it's a lie. She does not say, I believe that is a lie. She says it is a lie. How could she say that without knowing for certain that that is a lie? She goes on to say, he's a liar. He lied about everything. There again, one last time. What did he lie about? Okay, guys, that's what I got. That's this article. You can find it in the description box below. It's there as of this video. Who knows when they'll pull it? Maybe they never will. But as of right now, it is there. Her first time coming out ever, first time her name was ever known, the first time her face was ever seen in the public eye was this. In her attorney's office, her defamation, slander, he also does stuff on internet, attorney Ed Hopkins. All right, guys, let me know what you think below. Don't come at me jumping me. Just remember the golden rule. If you've got nothing nice to say, say nothing at all, okay? If you have opinions on things, please do put those down below because I would like to hear them. And I know there's many things I missed even saying to all of her inconsistencies, in my opinion here. Tell me. You tell me what else I can add to this because a lot of you know there is a lot that we could add to this. This is just keeping it on the download. The video's already got too long. But I hope you all have a great day, night, evening, wherever you may be. Until next time, this is Unjustified.